I don't like you, but I am you.
I'm not yours.
In a future where replaceable clones take on the most dangerous missions, Mickey-17 is presumed dead. However, he returns only to discover that he has already been replaced. Now, he must fight for his place before his evil clone takes even his girl. This is Mickey-17. The narrative begins with Mickey Barnes contemplating how he managed to survive such a long fall on an unknown planet. All of his equipment is utterly destroyed, and he cannot fathom how he withstood the impact. As he tries to recover, Timo appears stepping out of a vehicle to offer him assistance. Timo informs him that his flamethrower still works but warns him that he plans to keep it. Instead, he'll leave him there, as Mickey will be replicated again the next day. Before leaving, Timo asks what it feels like to face death and which version he is. Mickey responds that soon there will be an 18, and with a cold tone, Timo says goodbye, saying he will see him the next day. Shortly after, a strange creature appears on the scene. Mickey wonders if it would be better to be devoured by it than to freeze on that desolate planet. The narrative subsequently transitions to the replication procedure. Mickey undergoes a sophisticated process in which a newly formed body is implanted and his memories are meticulously transferred to the brain, utilizing advanced technology that facilitates cloning and memory preservation. However, during this intricate process, a young technician accidentally trips over a cable and reconnects it in a hasty manner. It is elaborated that this advanced technology was prohibited on Earth because of its significant ethical and moral risks, and is exclusively permitted for application in space. Mickey has been utilized repeatedly in perilous missions, being cloned and dispatched into extremely hazardous situations. As part of experimental procedures, a new iteration of Mickey is produced, but it will only possess a lifespan ranging from 10 to 15 minutes. To comprehend how he found himself in this predicament, the narrative rewinds to an earlier time. It all commences with Mickey Barnes, a youthful entrepreneur, alongside his closest friend Timo. Together, they endeavor to establish a macaroni restaurant, but ultimately fall into debt with perilous individuals. Soon they discover that not paying on time has fatal consequences. Their creditors are willing to chase them to the ends of the earth if necessary. Desperate, they decide to join a colonizing expedition led by the influential politician Kenneth Marshall. This mission offers a new opportunity to thousands of people seeking to escape from a decaying planet Earth. The competition for a spot on the ship is fierce, and everyone is pleading for a chance. Mickey, lacking specific skills, marks his application as expendable without fully understanding the implications of this decision. When an official asks him if he has read the terms, he responds affirmatively even though he is actually distracted and hasn't read anything. Timo, on the other hand, secures a position as an apprentice pilot, something Mickey cannot understand. While waiting, Mickey hears the sound of a saw and asks if there is construction going on. The official replies no, and shortly after another girl arrives who asks him again if he has read the documents. Mickey insists that he has, but his attention remains distracted. He discovers that he will be processed by a machine called the recycler, which will transform organic waste into resources for the ship, and another machine called the replicator. Also, when he dies, he'll be cloned in 20 hours. After thoroughly scanning his entire body and meticulously storing his memories, Mickey is informed that he must undergo this process on a weekly basis to prevent any gaps in his memory. His most significant moments are carefully recorded on a device referred to as a brick, and among these memories is one particularly poignant recollection of the tragic accident that claimed his mother's life. To finalize his employment, Mickey is required to fulfill the ultimate condition of ending his own life. Thus commences Mickey's journey, a 4.5-year expedition on a spacecraft where every aspect is meticulously regulated, including the food. Throughout the voyage, Mickey encounters Nasha, an elite Angela with whom he becomes hopelessly enamored. Amidst laughter and conversations, they begin to share intimate moments, something the ship's authorities try to prohibit due to the high caloric consumption it involves. However, their connection is so strong that they continue to see each other in secret. Nasha becomes his emotional support in an environment full of tensions, where Mickey feels surrounded by incompetence and constantly needs her help. Upon reaching their destination, Mickey is the first to set foot on the new planet and breathe its air, but the initial euphoria fades when they discover that the atmosphere is contaminated with a deadly virus. After this, Mick is sent to the Beyond and repeatedly cloned to help develop a vaccine that allows the settlers to adapt to the new world. Thanks to the deaths of Mickey 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16, they finally achieved the cure, paving the way for the exploration of the planet. During one of these explorations, the team encounters some small worms that, despite their size, scare them greatly. In the ensuing chaos, one of the lieutenants is crushed to death while trying to flee due to her gunfire. This infuriates Kenneth, who determines that Mickey-17 must labor twice as diligently, 14 hours each day, 7 days per week, until he succeeds in capturing a worm for research purposes. During his quest, the earth beneath Mickey's feet collapses, causing him to plummet to the depths of a crevice. This is the setting for the opening scene. The very worms they feared so much turn out to be their saviors, although Mickey believes they are keeping him to devour him. Later, however, the worms throw him back to the surface, and Mickey, surprised, shouts at them that he is very tasty. As he exits, he sees a truck transporting a huge stone and takes the opportunity to return to the base hidden in the back. Upon arriving, he is quite surprised to see what time it actually is. Back in his room, Mickey unexpectedly encounters Mickey-18. Timo, believing that Mickey 16 had been devoured by the worms, reported his untimely death, which led the replicator to generate a new clone. However, Mickey 18 exhibits a strange, almost sinister demeanor and soon reveals his intention to eliminate Mickey 17. The reason behind this behavior has a deeply disturbing origin. 4 years ago, an individual from the replicator, Alan Manikova, turned out to be a psychopath who started eliminating everyone. Upon investigation, they discovered he had created multiple clones of himself, one to commit the crimes and another as an alibi. Later, they found a third clone, which led to the conclusion that the clones developed evil personalities because, according to their studies, each body was meant to house only one soul. For this reason, Kenneth proposed limiting the existence of multiple clones to a single individual per expedition, designating them as expendable. If there were more than one, the additional clones would be executed permanently.
Чтобы идти дальше, слышу шепот ветра, он зовет вперед. Моя цель это пик, мой путь марафон. Светит ярко фонарь, я иду без страха. Миллион не предел, мой максимум в руках. Сколько сил вложил, сколько дней потратил, чтобы стать тем, кем я сейчас являюсь. Счастье в каждом мгновении, я живу на 100. Миллион на счету, это только начало. I'm a millionaire, каждый знает мой путь. I'm a millionaire, я не сверну назад. I'm a millionaire, светится мой парад. I'm a millionaire, я здесь, чтобы побеждать.
During a heated confrontation, Mickey 18 attempts to eliminate Mickey 17 by hurling him into the organic waste tank. Mickey 17, now utterly terrified by the prospect of permanent death, desperately tries to negotiate, but Mickey 18 remains unyielding. At that critical moment, Timo unexpectedly emerges, compelling both to conceal themselves. Timo appears to be engaged in unlawful activities, but Mickey 18 shifts his focus and resolves to eliminate him, since it was Timo who saddled Mickey with all the financial obligations. Just as he is on the verge of sending him to his demise, Mickey 17 steps in to rescue his friend, but is assaulted by 18, who desires for Timo to undergo the experience of death. At that precise moment, additional companions enter the room and Mickey 18 menacingly warns Timo to remain silent. However, Timo's associate is already cognizant of his unlawful activities. Subsequently, Nasha departs with Mickey 18 to enjoy some private time, which ignites envy in Mickey 17. Motivated by this feeling, he discreetly trails them but is unexpectedly interrupted by two companions who deliver surprising news. He has been granted an exclusive scene with Kenneth and his spouse. During the dinner, Kai is also invited and informed that she has the perfect genetic specimens to establish a colony on a new planet. It includes a tribute to Jennifer, the lieutenant who was crushed to death during the exploration. The dinner concludes with a song and applause, but everything seems to proceed normally until Mickey starts vomiting. The researchers uncover that the lab-grown meat Mickey 17 had ingested was laced with an experimental growth hormone, rendering it hazardous for consumption. They administer a trial medication to him, yet it proves ineffective and Mickey starts to writhe in agony. Kenneth, detached and calculating, proposes terminating his life to prevent further complications. However, Mickey, fully aware that they must not replicate him once more, feigns feeling better to avert his execution. Following this incident, Kai escorts Mickey 17 to rest. In a moment of intimacy, they converse about death and what it truly means to confront it. Although there is a closeness between them, Mickey can't help but think about Nasha, whom he truly loves. He then decides to look for her, and when he finally finds her, Nasha immediately recognizes him and understands the whole truth. Despite knowing that the existence of multiple clones violated the rules, she doesn't care, as she was under the influence of substances when she was with Mickey 18. Together, they come up with a plan to alternate their deaths to avoid being discovered. Nevertheless, at that exact moment, Kai steps into the room and becomes aware of the breach of regulations. Although she is required to report this, Nasha stands up for her, and they ultimately come to an understanding. Each will retain one Mickey, with Kai keeping Mickey 17 and Nasha keeping Mickey 18. However, Nasha feels it's unjust as both are fundamentally the same individual. Meanwhile, Mickey 18, feeling resentful about the manner in which Kenneth treated Mickey 17 during the dinner, concludes that Kenneth deserves to die. He takes possession of Nasha's weapon and proceeds to a conference where Kenneth is presenting the fragmentation of an enormous rock. However, before he can act on his intentions, a worm emerges from the stone, causing panic and chaos among all the attendees. However, this does not stop Mickey 18, who remains determined to complete his mission. Unexpectedly, Fortunately, Nasha and Mickey intercept him and prevent him from doing something reckless. At that precise moment, Kenneth becomes aware of the presence of numerous clones aboard the ship, but just before he can respond, an additional worm suddenly emerges and lunges directly toward his face. The agents promptly open fire, swiftly taking down the creature, yet the initial one that was captured emits a sound that alerts the other worms. After this incident, Mickey 1718 and Nasha are locked up in small cages. There, Mickey explains how the worm saved him, something that surprises Nasha. Shortly after, Timo arrives with bad news. He has received a letter from the lenders to whom he owes money. It turns out these are Kenneth's partners, and they have decided to go to the colony to collect their debt. However, they offer a way out. If Timo cuts Mickey into pieces and records the process, they will spare his life and his debt will be cleared. Timo, knowing that Mickey is expendable, considers the option. With no other options, he begins to neutralize Mickey 17, but Mickey 18 intervenes. He volunteers to be cut instead, but in exchange, he asks for a dose of oxysol to avoid feeling pain. Timo agrees, not realizing that Mickey 18's request was just a distraction. At that moment, Nasha takes advantage of the chaos to free them and in an unexpected twist attempts to take down Timo. It is then that Mickey 17 realizes the intensity of Nasha's feelings for him. She is willing to do anything to protect him, but they are interrupted. Meanwhile, the ship goes on alert as large groups of worms have gathered beneath the base. On the other hand, in the control room, Kenneth distinguishes Mickey 18 from Mickey 17, marking them and telling them that the time has come to eliminate them. He completely wipes Mickey's memory and orders their execution. However, Nasha intervenes, arguing that the war against the worms is as absurd as wasting Mickey's life. After all, they are not only native inhabitants of the planet, but they even saved Mickey's life. Yet Kenneth does not relent and maintains his plan for total extermination. At that moment, Kenneth ties up a creature and tells Nasha that if she wants to save it, she must prevent it from falling by biting the rope. However, his real plan is to exterminate them with gas. Before proceeding, Kenneth's wife proposes an alternative. Before exterminating them, the Mickeys must collect 100 wormtails to prepare a special sauce, as their meat turns out to be delicious. The first Mickey to complete the task will earn the right to live. However, before the competition begins, one of the scientists manages to develop a device capable of translating the language of the worms, allowing communication between species. Armed with this tool, Mickey resolves to alert the worms regarding the impending deadly gas assault and strongly advises them to vacate the vicinity. Throughout the dialogue, the worms disclose that their presence is due to the demise of one of their own, and they assert that if they suffer another loss, they will annihilate all humans. They additionally warn that their screams possess a potency strong enough to inflict harm, potentially to the extent of causing human brains to explode. In response, Mickey frantically signals to the ship, insisting that they return the baby worm or everyone will perish. Nevertheless, Kenneth declines, preoccupied solely with his malicious scheme. Nevertheless, it is Nasha who, in defiance of orders, successfully manages to rescue the baby. To pacify the situation, the mother worm suggests a proposition. Peace will only be achievable if a human perishes, just as one of her offspring did. Meanwhile, aboard the ship, Nasha takes Kenneth's wife hostage, threatening to end her life if they do not return the baby to its mother. Finally, they agree to the demand, but just as the exchange is taking place, the chief tries to kill the worm. Fortunately, Nasha reacts in time, stops the attack, and holds onto the rope. At that moment, the chief orders her arrest, but the agents present refuse to comply, fed up with the abuse of authority. On the other hand, outside the ship, Kenneth is getting ready to give his final speech in front of the cameras before releasing his lethal gas. Meanwhile, Nasha runs with the baby in her arms, trying to return it to Mama Worm. Seeing the trucks approaching, the worms group together to protect their mother. At the moment Kenneth gives the order to open fire, Mickey 18 makes a heroic decision. He throws himself onto the truck and in his final moments asks the mother worm to watch him. In that act, he sacrifices his life and fulfills the creature's demand of one human for one worm, thus sealing the peace agreement between both species. Months later, during an official ceremony, the end of the replicating machine is announced. Nasha, elected by a majority vote as the new head of the committee, leads the event. Finally, at her signal, it is Mickey who presses the button that destroys the machine forever. To close the chapter, they discover that the worms had lied about their ability to make heads explode with their sounds. And so, with peace restored and a new future underway, this story ends.